Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to the Gundam Explained Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, and joining me as always is Steven and Midnight Hatter. What's up, man?
Not a whole lot. How you doing?
Pretty good. Okay, I was seeing what your shirt was. That's the guy from Up.
Yes.
Right?
This
Yeah, that's
this
cool.
is like a classic shirt. It was handed out at Comic-Con like 2010 New York. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it's one of those things like the swag which can I just say, swag at cons has gone so downhill over the last 10, 12 years because I think to myself like, I got a free t-shirt. But like nowadays they give out little swag bags at cons, and it's like, oh, you get like maybe some pins or a lanyard and a bunch of like postcards and stuff like that.
And it's
Nothing
usually
really,
just a logo,
yeah.
which that is a little more creative.
Right. It's funny because it's like it says action hero, and
Yeah.
and then of course it's got like the up and the release date on the back of it because it's you basically become a walking advertisement. But uh,
Yeah. Okay.
I had a buddy that did like direct marketing like this, and it was so cool because he would do there was like that movie Barnyard that came out that was like about the cows.
CGI cow just popped in my head when you said that. So
Exactly.
must be.
So he had in his trunk like 50 frisbees that had like the Barnyard logo on them, and he would hand them out places. He was actually the reason that I heard about one of my favorite movie series is Night Watch.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. The Russian
yeah.
series. Yeah.
So he had Night Watch t-shirts that he handed out. And to bring it full circle, the thing that ties this all to Gundam is this is why when I went to the Gundam base and I saw what they were handing out in line as the swag, and it was like you get the little paper V fin hat.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this isn't good enough. So that's when I showed up with the water slide decals and the
With the
Gundam
little
miniatures,
figures.
and I
Yeah.
was handing them out in line because if you're
That's a
gonna
great
make
idea.
people stand around and wait in line for 3 hours, you got to give them something better for free than
I
a
know.
piece of paper.
I'm curious how that worked out because uh, I, they were originally going to be at Anime Frontier. They were originally going to be at these expos, and they decided not to be. So so they decided just to do their own little pop-up basis. So I don't know if that's cheaper for them somehow. They have more control. There's a direct-to-consumer aspect because they're doing it at hobby towns, so it's more of a
Right.
like you're. So I don't know.
They also
I just
outsource the staffing to like a local marketing agency. So what was
yeah.
interesting is there was maybe like 2 or 3 people that were there from Bandai, but most of the people that I talked to, the employees, they were like from a temp agency. And so they were like, I don't even know what Gundam is. Like, I got hired yesterday for this. Like, they just needed somebody to stand in line and tear tickets. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping better from that, but um man, speaking of the Gundam base and there's the figures there, I did the review of the Wing Zero that I was actually hoping to find there, but Ian found it for me and sent it to me. So if you guys haven't watched that, it's the review of the Gundam universe. It's like a Marvel Legends. I guess that's the way to put it, but I like them. They're really cool. And I have an Epion I'll be reviewing also. And then the other video I want to talk about, but that's going to be a bigger subject. So I want to talk about something else real quick. And it's what we started talking about before the show started, because the new Metal Gear Solid came out. And between Steven and I, Steven's played most of Kojima's stuff. I'm familiar with it because I love the auteur, whether
yeah.
that's in filmmaking or that's in video games, whatever. And so I'm always following them. And anyway, I decided to play. I wanted to play the new Metal Gear Delta Snake Eater that just came out because I never played it on. Well, I had started it. I always start a Metal Gear game, but what I was going to tell you was like, so this is an Unreal Engine, and you can tell there's so many little things. Shader compilation being one. The frame rate is locked at either 30 or 60. You can't unlock the frame rate. You can't increase the frame rate, which it's like, oh, that's fine. You can play it. It's playable, but it's almost like that's one of the things that makes me think, oh, this was more of a, again, I don't want to hate on Konami because at least they're doing it. And Konami does a lot of good stuff, but this seems more of just, let's just release it like in Unreal Engine. And it's like you said, where it's pretty much shot for shot, even when you run into that girl at the beginning and
Yeah.
she unzips her top, there's a button to go into first person, and you're
Yes.
pretty much just staring at, and then there's a scene later on where she's changing and you're hidden, and you can press the first person and stare at her butt. Now,
Yep.
if this was made a few years ago, I almost feel like they would not have left that in. I'm actually
No.
surprised they did. Like
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was
Well,
going to say the almost programmed prude in me would be like, "Oh no, we shouldn't be doing that." But then the other side, no, that's part of the charm. This is a James Bondy
well, but
style, you know.
well, I want to draw your attention to this
Yeah.
because look at something like the the Mass Effect like remastered collection, where they went in and made some quality of life changes. They upscaled graphics and things like that. They removed a lot of like the fan servicey elements of it. So like there would be certain
Mm,
camera angles that would focus on Miranda's butt and things like that. Those were stripped out, even though it's all in the same engine, it's all the same, like, so they didn't even recreate the games. They strictly went in and edited that stuff out. So what this tells me is that Konami not only recreated the game from scratch because they had to do it in Unreal Engine,
yeah.
but like they also went to the trouble of adding those things back in because there's nothing to
Yeah.
take out. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
a
if they
really good way
wanted to
to
leave
put
it
it.
out, they would have
Yeah.
just left it out.
So I gotta say, like, I don't mind that that's there. Since I don't remember that from before, I wouldn't have remembered and it wouldn't have mattered. But in terms of the artists, like so much in the credits at the beginning, which I loved, it's a James Bond. It's pretty much James Bond, you know.
Well, and I mean the sneaking music, if you've
Yeah.
ever noticed, is Mission Impossible. It's like the
Oh,
Mission Impossible theme.
I
Uh,
didn't realize that. And I know
yeah,
the Mission Impossible theme. Is it played differently or something? I just
it's like slowed down and it's like dun 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 dun
oh
dun
wow.
dun
Yeah.
dun dun.
I have to
So,
pay attention to that.
and again, it's worth noting that this is all Konami. Like Kojima didn't have any part in this remake, so it
Right. And what's interesting, so yeah, that beginning, the whole James Bond thing, everywhere it says Kojima. They're constantly saying originally by Hideo, originally produced, originally and David Hayter, is that the
yeah.
guy's? Now, did he re-record
I
or
don't
is
know.
it because it sounds good? I it could be that they re-recorded, but I think Sony was good at that high-end production value back in 2004 anyway. And
Yeah, the only time that they went back and re-recorded dialogue in a Metal Gear game was Twin Snakes because of
oh yeah.
there were some characters that were deemed racist.
Oh, okay. That I didn't know. So in what's interesting about this again, it's an Unreal. It runs, I would say, pretty good. Like, I mean, I have a pretty good PC, but I can tell it's like by now with all the video games I play, I can tell when Unreal Engine is holding something back. This is probably cheaper for them. And I think we're just I feel like the video game currency in the future is not going to be better graphics. It's going to be the engine. I think people are going to start being like, oh, it's this engine. And I think it's going to be easier to make engines, especially with AI.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what you need to do. I think so. This actually goes into another interesting video game topic real quick before we move on. So, they had Gamescom in Germany the past weekend.
Yeah.
Xbox was showing off their new handheld. It's really just the ROG Ally like I have, but beefier. It's got the handles. But here's what else Microsoft is doing that no other company is doing. They have an operating system level OS that does all the processing for the gaming. So it's not per game. It doesn't have to be implemented by the developer. It's based on the operating system. So now the operating system can be the one to make the game run better than it could based on the hardware. And so this is that connective tissue I think is easy to lose when you're like, what, going portable? So the games aren't going to be that great anymore? No, Microsoft's thinking ahead. They're like, okay, people want portability, but also people want good graphics. How do we fix that? Well, AI is big right now. Why don't we just have an AI layer in the OS that's actually from an OS layer computing for the game to run good, instead of per game, because then you still have the game layer doing AI stuff on top of the
Right.
operating system. So, and the couple videos I watched of the breakdown, they're saying this is a game changer. And see, this is something Sony had already implemented, but it's more on a GPU. It's not called a GPU in the PlayStation, I don't think. Or maybe it is, but their graphics processor, or it is the CPU that's doing it. They have a layer of AI to do upscaling, but it's not this OS type that Microsoft. And it's interesting that Microsoft didn't like lead with this early on, or maybe this was for the haters to then realize, oh, wait a minute, Microsoft's had this plan the whole time.
Well, I mean, you these days, as hard as it is to keep company secrets and keep proprietary technologies in place, I mean, you really do have to be hush hush and kind of keep your cards close to your vest, and wait until the perfect moment to announce when you're going to have a feature like that. Because to your point, with AI, it's so easy to, once you hear about a concept, you can then iterate and create your own almost
Yeah.
faster than, because then you like, imagine someone that's not held back by the red tape, that's not held back by corporate interest, that they can take an idea and go to market with it faster than it would take a company like Microsoft to do it. If you had like a VC backed like startup that they got wind of, like, oh well, this is what Microsoft is planning on doing, we could have that done in 6 months. Like,
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it's related to this further next topic, because it has to do with Elon Musk. Elon Musk, he announced recently he's going to have a whole new, I forget what they called it, but he's going to use AI to pretty much make another Microsoft. It's like, well, why would it be a big deal for him to do that? And we heard recently Microsoft's getting their fusion power. That makes rocket power obsolete. And I think Musk is realizing he's been left out of what's going on in the, the
yeah,
other layers of
I mean,
government.
getting out of OpenAI was probably a big mistake for him, and now he's having to play catch up with XAI.
Yeah.
Now
Even though
they've made a lot of strides, but
even though Gronk is cool and all that, but I think it's like, and I don't know the further details of this, so except the surface. There's like that company called Plantier or something like that.
Palantir, yeah.
Palantir. Okay. It's more of the government saying, okay, there's some crazy technology that exists. I guess we will pick this company to work with so we can see and slowly kind of let that technology out. And I think Elon Musk was in a silo of, okay, we're not going to give Elon Musk the technology, but we're going to help push the commercial technology that he is all in, and so people think that's cutting edge, and so when Microsoft announces their plasma reactor, a fusion reactor, Elon Musk is probably going like, because he was on Joe Rogan a couple months ago saying there's no other technology further than what he's doing. Like, it's pretty crazy. This stuff is out in the open. But so yeah, let's talk about this other. So I had a video go out that was like, Gundam tech is real, or because the cool thing about Gundam technology, one is the fusion reactors that mobile suits have, and they've evolved too as they've gone. And it's almost like when you hear, oh, it's an ultra compact fusion reactor, neat, future sci-fi science, but it's like, no, actually, that is completely doable, and it has been. But Helion, like that Palantir, is that what you said the company was?
Yeah.
Helion is the company that the government is using to supply Microsoft the plasma fusion reactor. So it's like, oh, okay, so what would then happen is, in like, I don't know, 20 years, it could be that then other companies can now get it on the fusion plasma. And then maybe in another 20 years after that, then it might be even more like where maybe residential neighborhoods might have some plasma fusion reactors.
Yeah.
In fact, I forget which Godzilla it was. It's one of the 2000 ones. And it might have been 2000. Godzilla comes back because what happens, they decide not to have power plants anymore, so Godzilla doesn't come back. So they build plasma reactors. But then Godzilla is like, hey, that's plasma.
Like,
yeah,
that's
and then
delicious.
So anyway, and so how the plasma works, it reminds me because on your, I think it was your episode yesterday when you were talking about the technology that you came up with for your fan, or not your fan, but for your story, your fiction
Yeah.
about the kind of the Ouroboros that the molecules or the
Yeah.
electrons make because they're being
Yeah.
pretty much
Self-reacting atom, basically. Yeah.
right. Which that's cool stuff because that's not far from what is actually happening, not only in Gundam, but also in the Helion fusion reaction. Because what's going on is, and I don't know how much I touched on this in the video, they take an element and they transmute it. And it's like alchemy. I know we say transmute, but these guys are alchemists.
I was
And
gonna say, I mean, that's not a far off description because you're taking something and turning it into something
yeah,
else. It's like,
they're taking
maybe it's not lead into gold, but maybe it's I
well,
don't know.
they said they can do gold. That was the first. They said it's like 5 tons of gold a year that they can produce.
Wow.
But why? So that's what's interesting. Gold must not be as important as we're told it is, because for them it's more important to turn deuterium into boron.
Yeah.
Okay, so deuterium is an element that's not too, I forget how it goes. Yeah, it's not too abundant, but you can turn water into deuterium because of the hydrogen.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about before, the hydrogen has one electron, and how is it self-orbiting?
And there's a dude on YouTube that's fascinating because he grows silver crystals. Like he uses silver nitrate and he like hooks up basically like a car battery and uses like some kind of electrolysis
plasma
in the liquid to generate silver crystal. And it's like, okay, so 12 hours of running my machine, I had to power the machine, so how much silver did it generate? And then like, can I sell that silver and will it pay off the energy that it took to create it? And so fascinating stuff, man.
That is. So that's the thing. In history, we hear a lot about alchemy and all that as if it's, voodoo or whatever, but it's real and it's being used to make. So yeah, boron in the Gundam. Is it boron in the Gundam universe that is, or is it the deuterium? I get them mixed, but
I think it's the boron gas at Jupiter.
it's Jupiter. Okay.
Yeah.
So
the Jupiter's harvest.
It's interesting because that's what, like, the scientists in these papers years ago were talking about was like, well, we'd have to get it from Jupiter. Well, we can use a plasma rocket it would get there in like 3 days or something. I don't know. But anyway, so they get the deuterium, and what you do with it is you, I think you heat it up or something where it's like the thing with your Ouroboros where it's like you're stripping the electron from by heating up the gas, it separates the electrons and then it creates a plasma. But it's inside a reactor that has electromagnetic shielding, so it stops the plasma from just kind of expanding and dissipating.
Right.
So it like holds it in place. So why that's interesting is because I didn't realize initially that like that technology to make the plasma reactor is the same technology that's used to make those orbs, those plasma orbs. Now you're like, what plasma orbs? And it's like, well, there's videos out there, even that MH370 video that really no one will talk about. UFO disclosure people. It's funny how they don't even mention it to be like, yeah, I've seen that video. That looks like, no, they act like it doesn't exist because they can't talk about it. But
yep.
Anyway, so it's interesting that these, and then the consciousness, it's like the physicist Hal Puthoff, that he's a well-known physicist. He's been on Joe Rogan. He works with the U.S. Navy, the U.S. Army. He's the one that did the remote viewing with the consciousness. He worked with people to, and this gets deeper because apparently plasma may be conscious because plasma is self-organizing. That's why it sort of dissipates in an energy when it forms, because it's not supposed to be in this state. So,
gotcha.
So there's a lot of things about plasma that seems like it's conscious. So if you look at fin funnels and bits, you're seeing these self-propelled things with low inertial drag that are being controlled by the thoughts of new types. And it's interesting because that is not at all far off from all the scientific papers.
I mean, if you're going to talk about consciousness stored within plasma, you can even go as far as whenever they have like the soul of a dead new type inside of a machine,
yeah.
Not Chloe Croce. Who's the other one? inside the Blue Marion Welch.
Oh, Mary Welch. And then
Mary.
the other one, the Phoenix, Rita, whatever. Yeah, there's these little things. It's because what it is, it's the resonance. It's the brainwave resonance. It's real. It exists. You can measure. Actually, you can measure the how is it? It's one way or the other. Either the brain waves can be measured with plasma, or plasma can measure a brainwave. It's one of I forget what the paper was speaking on, but so what was interesting was after I made that video, there was even multiple blog posts that came out from Helion that explained things even further. One of them was talking about how they're happy that they can make non-ignition plasmas, meaning there is no heat to generate the plasma. And where else have we heard, oh, there's no heat? That the Tic Tac videos, you know how they say it's the propulsion's impossible. There's no heat. Well, I mean, Helion, who's making plasma right now, is telling us that they can make. So it's crazy to hear in real time in 2025, these companies that are working with the government are saying how they're making these plasmas and
Helion Electronics.
So yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, that's what I have to find. Someone made a thumbnail for a video, and it was the person talking, but then the three big corporations, one being Helion, that are all part of this thing, and it looked like, like Umbrella Corp or Anaheim Electronics and all that.
That's awesome.
But what's interesting about this too is, and this gets into an unsettling topic, and we go back to one of the sources, and it is that MH370 video that's in my video where you see the orbs with no heat, by the way, because it is a thermal and there's no heat, of those three orbs going around an airplane, just like funnels or orbs would be flying around, like on its own. And then we see some sort of, reaction. We don't know if it blew up. We don't know if it got teleported. We just know that, there's people that are missing in real life. And if you look it up, airliners, Boeing 777s don't just go missing. And what's funny too about it is the cameras that were used. It was two different types. One was from a drone and one was from we thought it was a satellite, but they figured out it's a Sierra Nevada Corporation drone called a Gorgon Stare. But basically, these things can see anything. They're all over the planet. They can see anything, anywhere. So more than likely, you're not that a Boeing 777 is not just going to go missing. Someone knows where it is.
Yeah,
even if they can't tell us. But I wonder. So what's interesting though about this is, there's on one hand, the non-Gundam stuff of it is like, it's crazy the time we're living in, how we're seeing this technology sort of, go crazy. And as I was, again, following up with some a blog post that came out and some more information about the plasma, I started digging more and then realizing a lot of the ancient mysteries of engineering and technology that was up in the air. How did this happen? It really goes back to plasma again. Like the pyramids, the Great Pyramids, like the different chambers and the frequency. Some people might not know this, but they all have their own resonance frequencies, and a lot of these frequencies match different types of chemical elements that would rise and then interact. I don't know. I have the information. If people are interested, reach out to me. I'm trying to make a video for another channel about this stuff because it's fascinating. But even in one of the pyramids is a hieroglyph. No, it's not in the pyramids, in the Dendara temple, called the Dendara light bulb. And it's these two beings holding what looks like a light bulb, but instead of a filament inside, it's a snake that's inside.
Interesting.
And there's more iconography as you dig about snakes, maybe relating more to that. It's like it's like wielding the plasma. So the staff that turns into a snake, I don't know if you've heard that before. I think that's in the Bible. Even that can heal people, because there's even things about plasma being able to have healing properties. So it's like when you look at this, or Ark of the Covenant, like even when they describe how it looks and how people interact with it, wait, that's how you would interact with plasma, or if you were to try to continue. So it could be that it's not hard to make and control plasma. You know how we have plasma, those plasma lamps you can buy, and I mean, that's plasma right there. It's just heated gas. And like, I think what happens is people get far enough that the access to technology, they use it where they are then seen by others, are like, okay, then we'll fold you into this. Or like in Tesla's case, they just Nikola
Shut him
Tesla,
down.
yeah, they just confiscated all his work.
And
Because
discredit him by like,
right,
by creating conspiracy theories around AC and saying like, oh, alternating current, that's dangerous. Like,
yeah,
and now
right,
we have alternating current in our houses. Like,
exactly. And that's what's funny, because it was back during that time period where they're like, okay, well then how can we monetize the electricity? Because it's not, we can pull electricity straight up, like with the fusion. And this is just using plasma. But what we do instead is we just heat water. We boil water so the steam turns a turbine to generate electricity. So think about that. Someone had enough money to be like, okay, let's create an infrastructure that people have to pay to get this, instead of just a direct line to the technology like now we're seeing with the fusion. So I strongly believe what explains a lot of there's a lot of things that actually I can't say it all in this this video, because this is going to be more about Gundam, but there's so many things that point to some understanding of plasma, even as far as petroglyphs being in the shape of plasma geometry that you can make in a lab.
Some government agent just abducts you, and then it's like that astronaut meme. It's like, wait, you're telling me it's all plasma? It's like, always has been.
Always has been. No, that's exactly what I think it is. I think,
well, it's a lot like if you ever watched that movie Stargate, where remember when the main character in Stargate, I think his name's David. Well, yeah, but James Spader, his character, he's this professor of Egyptology, and he's like uncovering all these different hieroglyphs, and like the government basically just abducts him and says like, hey, we need you to decode this ancient technology that we found. So there's
that's like
it's
the same,
not unheard of that the kind of relationships that you're describing. So,
and so like, Daniel Jackson, Jim Kelly.
Thank you, Jim Kelly. See, I should have known.
Yeah,
kindred spirit.
But so this other thing, that this, before I move on back to Gundam, of what this like leaves me with is like, there's all this information that's out there. Most people don't care. But I think it's because society has been structured for, as you're born, as you go through life, there are more survival things you have to think about than because, and I don't know how to explain this. It's almost like sometimes like at work, hey, I get a job, I'm doing work. Okay. After a while of being in the work, I'm more interested in the inner workings. And then I want to figure out how maybe we can improve. It's almost like that with life here on Earth. It's like, okay, so we generate power in these power plants, but fusion, couldn't we give that to, it's like you almost want to optimize Earth, the world, to be better for everyone. But then you're like, wait a minute, we're kind of being told, nah, I can't
Mac Lord
access
from Wonder Woman, right? Like, life's good, but it could be better, like.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm the same way. I mean, just the other day at work, my coworker was complaining about something that was bothering her that was like going to take a lot of work, and I said, well, what do you need? Like, how? And so, boom, I wrote a script and a saved search, and like, optimized her work for her. I didn't have to do that, but like,
that's cool.
Shouldn't we all strive to operate at better efficiency? But I think that there are controlling interests that don't want people solving problems like that because it is damaging to the status quo. When you introduce new energy sources that might make electricity, become, or make like coal power obsolete, or make windmills obsolete and things like that, all of a sudden it's like, ooh, well, we can't afford to like put all of these windmill like energy, like all these wind farms out of business. So like, let's slow that down. Let's make sure that technology isn't released. And that's where, government contracts come into play, because what they're going to do is they're basically going to subsidize the development of that technology, but then they control the access to it. They become the gatekeepers, and then they utilize it for something like military technology, where it does have like practical applications. Like if you can power a tank off of off of plasma energy, off of cold fusion instead of off of, gasoline, imagine how much more effective it's going to be. So,
Yeah, so this brings another layer to it, because so in Gundam, and remind me if the technology changes, but it's like when you shoot the reactor, it's going to blow up. It's going to have it's almost like the plasma gets released, and what happens, it's not
rapid expansion.
anymore.
Yeah.
So, and what's interesting about that is, so we look at all these sites around the world, these megalithic sites that are impossible. They really are. Like, no one has been able to reproduce any of the megalithic stonework we see anywhere. That's why I think, it must be some technology we don't have yet that did that. And so plasma, especially you see vitrification and rock that it's scorching, that how could that happen other than plasma? Because it's not going to happen with fire, because these are like finished surfaces. And then the nubs that's a whole other thing. But anyway, if you map out where all these megalithic sites are around the world, and something else that are called dolmens, and they look like little stone huts with holes in them, like as if a snake would go in, and it doesn't make sense. People don't know what these are. They would joke, say, they're fairy homes or something, but there's hundreds of them in certain areas, thousands around the world. And what it says is that these dolmens are actually like a capacitor, pretty much. The idea was, how could we transfer this energy that is generated at the Giza complex around the world to the megalithic sites, and really a lot of this sounds far-fetched, but the idea here is, and then the other parts of this is, this technology could be dangerous in general. So we had this earlier civilization that knew how to use plasma, like Tesla, wirelessly share that around the world, like Tesla was trying to do. But, and there's a paper on this, and I used to, the Younger Dryas impact, when the comet hit 12,000 years ago. Well, apparently 12,000 years ago, there was this sun activity that we have not seen since, that was so bad that they say people back then would have seen plasma forms in the sky, because all this plasma would be discharging in the atmosphere, so that if there were capacitors, they would all be blowing up.
Yeah.
And so it would be a worldwide sort of like the plasma grid would be being destroyed. So the reason you see cavemen, those are where everyone had to retreat. It's not that people were living in caves. That's where they had to retreat and draw. This is what we saw. And they're drawing the forms of the plasma. And then the other thing to add before we move on, because I could talk about this forever, is, part of the other part I linked with this is, there's Matt Beal. I've brought him up before. Owns Beal's department stores. He's a millionaire. He has a podcast where he gets crazy people on. And he bought those vases from Egypt that are within a micron width around, like the error of carving. Yeah. And some are like this small, some are this big. Anyway, as he was describing them and he found out more things about them, I put it in ChatGPT, and it was telling me that's describing how a capacitor works, because these things are dielectric. They are quartz. And they're like, oh yeah, this would be a capacitor. So if 20,000 of them were found in a 15,000 around year old grave, makes me think this event happened, and was someone trying to hoard all the capacitors, so like after the event we would have but really the devastation really ended us. And then it makes me think, okay, so this gets into a time where within modern humanity, maybe people above us know, yeah, we can't have a plasma world, because if something happens, it's gonna cause us to, and so that's why the plasma technology is being hidden, right?
Yeah, and I mean, what you describe, it's like, was somebody hoarding it, or did they realize, oh, this is dangerous, and so they buried it? So it's not necessarily a tomb. That's just where they, because it's the same thing that we do with nuclear waste, right? We just bury it, put it in the side of a mountain, and
that's a really dangerous. No, that's a really good way to think about it.
They're like, if these capacitors are going to blow all over the world, we got to hide them somewhere. And
oh man, I'll add one more little thing to this. There is this Olmec culture that is very mysterious, that was in
You
Mexico?
mean the guy from Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Oh yeah, the Olmecs. I think it's based off that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they were known as the rubber people because they had some strange isolated rubber industry. But what would you use rubber for? So you can handle plasmas or tech that has
Insulation.
plasma.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So for there to be a culture that was a rubber industry amongst, that I think that just adds another layer to this. So then in Gundam, when we ever see scenes, and I'm talking Universal Century, but if there's AU stuff, let's bring that up. In Universal Century, we see scenes where the Federation government is, meeting with Xeon leadership or even other corporations for hidden technology. So is there a parallel now that we've gone past the plasma? So let's say in the Gundam's universe, plasma fusion is a normal thing, blah, blah, blah. What would be the next step? And for me, it would be brainwave things or stuff like the unicorn program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about what crises are we trying to solve, right? So in
Oh,
our
good.
world,
Yeah.
we have a crisis of energy. Like we're trying to figure out how are we going to supply enough energy for human beings to live and to fuel all of these data centers where we're running all
Oh,
of these
yeah.
AI.
And the
So
AI, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to solve for. What Gundam is about solving for, and the reason that Psychomu technology becomes as popular as it does is because they're trying to solve for the communication disruption that happens as a result of Minovsky particle distribution. And
I
so it's
like
like
where
if
you're
we
going.
can't use radio to communicate with people, if we can't use radio to control our weapons, to control our satellites and things like that, how are we going to communicate across these? If we can't communicate wirelessly. That's
Yeah.
where the brainwave technology comes in. So
Okay, I love that because I think that makes a lot of sense because it's for the layperson or for anyone. So Minovsky interference can't really do anything, but those for the few elites that maybe have access to that technology or have access to people that can leverage the technology, it's like, oh, okay, we can. I love that stuff. Like in the original Gundam, especially when Sayla's like, she senses, Lala, she's like sensing, like the idea that and it's interesting because it could be, and we see this in ancient myths, that humans had the ability of telepathy. And maybe that's not true, but maybe it is. And maybe, again, the society we're in doesn't really allow us to use those abilities. And that's what Gundam is showing, that as we are expanding our minds, going to space, that maybe it's unlocking that, because, yeah, I wonder, like in the Gundam universe, how much more maybe information really is available, because like it seems like by that time in Gundam, I don't know, like the motivation for war, like the first original and only motivation that starts UC off doesn't seem like it's anything about some military industrial complex. It's more of the Zabi family kind of, well, Zeon and Daikun, but then the Zabi family kind of, yeah, so maybe they were changing it to that. But I'm talking so fast. Char's dad
there you
wanted
go.
to, wanted independence for space noids, which makes sense that context because of how separated parts of humanity would be to make it seem like it's this other side that you would want to stand up against if they are,
Do they, in the beginning of Unicorn, like when the governor's mansion is subject to that terrorist attack, do they ever disclose like what the motive was behind the terrorist attack?
to the people?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, because like I mean, that is really what triggers all of the
Yeah,
100 years of 1 year war, or 100 years of universal century conflict is like that one terrorist attack. Because obviously, then you get Laplace's box, you get
right.
this secret that the elites keep to keep
Oh,
themselves in power.
I see
But
where you're
I don't
getting.
think they ever say exactly why the terrorists attacked in the first place.
No, you're right, because I think you're bringing up such a great point, because I think the whole rest of the series was the discussion of, do we tell people what was really going on? Do we really say that that was part of the charter and it got removed because it was like and space noise or something, and right, and it got removed?
Yeah, so, like, the
Yeah.
original charter said, if a new species of human evolves from living out in space, that we should defer to them and, kind of preaches, like, space noid supremacy, I guess, and so maybe the answer is the reason that the terrorists attacked in the first place is because they didn't want that information because they knew that it had already happened, and they didn't want it to get out. So kind of like what you're talking about, where it's like, you know, as a private entity, something like Helion discovers new technology, that's when a government entity would come in and say, like, look, the world's not ready for that yet, so we're gonna squash it here. Like,
And it would be like
we're gonna
Lockheed
make a Boeing
Martin. Oh yeah,
disappear, like,
yeah,
specifically.
with Lockheed Martin,
Yeah,
whereas in Unicorn would be the Vist Foundation.
correct.
So that's why I think so that's really cool because it even further strengthens the hero that Bright Noah is, even though I feel like he's a bad dad. But that's another discussion. Um, but you know what I mean? Because like he was in the government, and obviously there's things. Yeah, that's very interesting because I wonder how much that goes on right now in the government. Like, and maybe Elon Musk is a good example where it's like some people are just not told what's going on, but I don't feel like we have anyone, or maybe there's not a need, but for someone that's fighting for us, or maybe there is in the shadows to be. But what would that be? Would it be like let people know this exists so we don't have to keep talking about aliens all the time?
Well, and it's funny because the people that claim to be, fighting for the people always end up, if they do somehow make it into power, then they turn they're like, "Oh, nope, sorry, I was wrong." Like the information that you want, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Or they just end up, disappeared.
Yeah. I mean, look at what they were doing at the end of Unicorn. They were trying to destroy the colony that had the colony builder inside, right?
Yeah.
The Megalonxica, so many names to pull. And then it just happened to be, and this is the other part of sci-fi Gundam I like, the whole crystallized Gundam, like crystal, like when it comes to plasmas and all that, like crystal is another thing, like crystal quartz, all that. Like there's something with that Benager as a powerful new type should be able to tap into if his intent is strong enough, because intuition, that type of stuff, as much as manifestation, as much as that some of that stuff seems like fringe, like I feel like intent is a real thing. If you have intent, and you're really true to that intent, a lot of times you could carry out whatever that intent is. And I think someone like a new type like Benager, his intent could go so far as to producing these
Manifest.
crystals. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they've actually done studies about that where, so say for instance, and they did a control group on this where it was like, okay, you have 3 people. All of them want to learn to play piano. One of them does nothing. One of them actually practices the piano, and one of them just thinks about playing piano, but doesn't ever actually touch one. And after a week, for some reason, the one that thought about it somehow was able to play piano better than the person that did nothing. Not as good as the person that actually practiced, but it just goes to affirm what you're suggesting when it comes to will and intent is like, when you set your mind to something, you do there's an aspect that allows you to carry it out.
Right, because it'll be like little micro movements you make day to day that go closer and closer to that goal because it's on your mind.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. To kind of explain away the magic part of it is to say, like last year before I built my Batman costume for Halloween, every walk I would go on, I would think about how I would build it. Yeah. And then I built it and I loved it. I was like, I can't believe I built a Batman costume. I mean, I bought the mask and the belt, but I made
cape, the muscle,
everything else. And the muscle stuff. Yeah.
that was
So
awesome.
yeah, I think that, and I got to say that it was the same thing with this channel. Before I made this channel, I always thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I was making Gundam videos? And then I would just, not that I was going to do it, but I would just, in my mind, just pretend I'm making a Gundam video. And you know what? That Bandai canceled me video, that was one where I thought about that for a long time, like over a year.
I'm sure that that's something that you like said out loud to yourself,
Yeah,
a
because it's like
lot over the year.
yeah,
Like,
my intent wouldn't be to do this.
yeah,
My intent, I need to have an honest intent, with it. So, and just to round out all this talk, I love talking sci-fi. Like I love sci-fi movies, and I feel like a lot of times sci-fi movies aren't that interesting. Like your Ouroboros, if that was in a sci-fi movie, I would be like, holy crap, who was that writer? Because that is a really neat way to describe that. Like I think we're missing that a lot in sci-fi. Like they do very surface levelly. Well, okay, here's something interesting. Monday, actually, there's two things, but let me start with this one. Monday, I saw Primitive War in theaters. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's the Jurassic Park like, and other than the human acting, it was better than Jurassic Park movies. Like, if you
it brought something new to the table.
Yeah,
it wasn't just a rehash of like, human hubris.
Right.
Like, yeah.
If you, and not only that, but it's like, it's almost like someone was like, hold my beer after watching Jurassic Park, being like, do you guys really want to see dinosaur action that looks awesome? I mean, I don't think I could spoil it, but you see two T-Rexes eating people, and they're not shying away from it. They're running through this place, kicking. In video games, you'll see the red barrels in the distance. You're like, oh, that will blow up. They littered those in the scenes to make sure a T-Rex would run into it, it would blow up, and then just pick people up and eating them. And it's interesting because it played more like a horror movie than when it came to the death scenes. But in that movie, they did a good job of explaining, but without that being a main part of the movie. It's basically the Russians had a particle collider hidden in Vietnam, which that would be hard to do. And it's just the particle collider. When they activated it, it opened a wormhole and dinosaurs came out. That's the story. And luckily, they don't try to explain it too much more than that.
Sometimes when you try to answer those questions, you end up digging a worse hole for yourself. It's like leave some stuff to the imagination because.
Yeah, right. And so that's, and it's interesting you say that because on the flip side, they didn't leave any dinosaur scenes to your imagination because they always had full shots, CGI dinosaurs that look great. Like there would be scenes of like 8 people fighting 20 raptors, and there would be wide shots of people wrestling a raptor, and it's like, this looks great. Like they should have hired, and they made the movie for $7 million. Wow. So wild. It's like that minus Godzilla -1. You can see heavy CGI movies can be made pretty cheap, and like something that I need to manifest, I'm, throwing out there is the whole, like a movie that I would like to make. I've talked about is like a space, like a Gradius or, a space shooter movie, but you just make it CGI. You just just make cool dogfights and then have a guy in a, a cockpit.
Do it up Wing Commander style.
Yeah, like Wing Commander. Oh, wait, you're getting robbed of super chats. It keeps giving me a YouTube error. Well, thanks, Short Grass Studios. Normally, I don't get them too often anyway, so no biggie, but thank you very much. So I'm going to move on from this excitable topic of fringe science technology. I am so glad you brought up the unicorn stuff because I think that solidifies it. In fact, I might do a video about this that you brought up with the unicorn because it really matches everything. But
glad to be of service.
Anything else to add before we move on? I know we're near the end anyway, but
no, I mean, this is it's truly amazing the way that that life inspires art, inspires life, because it is a bit of give and take. Is like the technology that was around in the 70s that inspired the stuff in Gundam. You can see the inspiration turning back in on what we see in life. And to your point, when it comes to the idea of like ancient civilizations, I mean, look no further than Turn A. Like, you're talking about like this kind of early Victorian style culture that used to have mobile suits, and they're like digging them up. Like, can you imagine what would happen if like underneath the dinosaurs in the United States, we kept digging and we found a Gundam? Like,
dude. And who knows if we have?
That's true. They wouldn't tell us for sure.
I know. Yeah, that is very interesting. Okay, so moving on. So last Sunday, I had another anime night, and it was the best anime night, in fact, because I had not only everyone that would come showed up, but also a friend of mine. His name is Nathan. I hadn't talked to him in maybe 15 years, but
Wow.
back in high
Nothing
school,
brings people together like anime.
right? But back in high school, and then right after graduating, it would be me. There was a bunch of people I'd hang out with, but it was specifically me, him, and this my other friend that's named Adam that we would always hang out and we lived together. Dude, we would just watch movies, play video games, all the time. And he showed up at anime night, and it was just like it was 15 years ago. The jokes, it almost felt like, we joke about like with the Trump administration coming and then all that woke stuff got out, whatever is true or not, I don't know. But it's funny because he's the type to joke more risque than I would normally joke. And so, but it allowed me to get back into that, and it was fun. We were watching the movie, the anime Wicked City. Have you seen that?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
It is probably the most graphic, the most anime that you wouldn't watch with your kids or your wife. Well, I mean, I guess
There's
you
a
could
lot
watch
of anime that I wouldn't watch with my kids and my wife.
No, but this would be the most.
Okay.
It was more than I was remembering because all the stuff kept coming up, and then the jokes. Like, and it's funny because this guy's not the type to watch anime. So when I texted him about an anime night, his reply was, "You mean watch anime?" I'm like, "Yeah, trust me, dude, it's fun." And it's funny how much it worked out because Wicked City has so much nudity, so much crazy gore. Like one of the ladies, the guy has an experience with, she happens to turn into a spider, but still a lady, but part spider. And anyway, crazy. I would say watch it if you get a chance, just because it's like it's made by the Vampire Hunter D dude. It's
okay, cool.
Really good animation. It's stuff that movies wouldn't do today. Also made by the same guy that made Demon City Shinjuku that I watched previously. Let's see. Yeah, so I would recommend for those out there, Wicked City. But wait a minute, Jim Kill X is saying the Hong Kong live action version is insane. There's a Hong Kong live action version. Oh my gosh. I that's got to be the next anime night. It's gonna be. Oh my. But anyway, what I meant to say is I recommend watching this movie, but again, watch it by yourself first, just in case, or with another friend that's into that.
Good deal. Yeah.
There's a lot of. Is there an anime that you watched before that you were like, wow, there's a lot going on here?
Like I think like, man, back in the day, like the first time you see Ninja Scroll, and you're like, gosh,
that's a good example. That was my first anime back in.
Man, you were in the deep end.
Well, and this was, I think I was either in middle school or in high school, but it was like, I knew there was Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, whatever. I didn't really care. But I just remember I was at my friend's house, and it was his older brothers. He's like, dude, this is good. Let's watch it. And I was like, oh my God.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, Ninja Scroll's a good call out. I need to watch that again. I used to have, I might still have it actually, the DVD, like, because after I saw it when I was a little older, that was one of the things I bought, because I don't have much physical media.
No, but I mean, you have like your personal server, so it's not like you're constantly streaming content. Like you have all of the media yourself. You just don't have like the discs.
Well, I do have I see what you're saying, because I'll burn it to my I do have like all the Gundam, all the Godzillas. I have random, like, so when I was collecting movies, since like when I first got a job, then you go to Blockbuster and they're like cheap.
Yeah.
I kept about like 20 movies that are just like because I had a huge collection. I sold that back in like 2011, but I kept like 20. It's like the Toxic Avenger movies. A lot of like Japanese or Asian movies that aren't here. I would say the movies you guys probably wouldn't recognize. I have the Bruce Campbell TV show, Jack of All Trades. I have that on
Yeah, I
DVD.
mean, there's some stuff that it's like you have to keep the physical media because you know it's never going to be reproduced. Like there's a DVD I have for a Korean movie called Guns and Talks. Awesome action comedy movie. And but can't find it streaming anywhere, can't find it to download or to buy. So I'm like,
Wow.
well, I'm glad that I still have my DVD of it. So
You know what? Yes, 2001 Korean film. So during that time, 2001, 2002, 2003, there was this website called aznfilms.com, and
yeah.
I would just buy movies from there, and I must have missed that one, but Korea had a lot of cool.
Yeah, I recommend that one. It's great. About
Okay,
four brothers that are hitmen.
okay, yeah, I'm gonna save this. But yeah, I really do like the anime night, and I tell you, dude, if we lived near each other, you would be coming to the anime night.
I absolutely would.
Yeah, I know. It would be, that would be cool, because then we'd have something else to kind of almost like book club in a way to talk about. Like it could be the first part of the show. It's I just gotta say it's really good, because I went so long not hanging out with friends.
Not socializing.
Yeah, not like occasionally I would have my brother come over,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't have friends. It's like the most I've had my friends come over, and I prepare food, for everyone, and make it fun. But what I do like too is the fact that there's a few people there that wouldn't watch anime, or a
Yeah,
couple. But
I mean, that's the magic of socializing. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, like I was in a DDR club, and it's like I was terrible at Dance Dance Revolution, but it's like that's where all of my friends that also
that
played
is cool.
Yu-Gi-Oh and also watched anime would be after school was like DDR. So I'm like, look, I'm not gonna play. Like I'll hang out in the back, play Yu-Gi-Oh, talk Gundam with my friends, but like, it was just a way to be in with the crowd.
Dude, there was a little sliver of that arcade era, like for me, where I live in Grapevine or Euless, Grapevine, Texas, Grapevine Mills Mall, they had this arcade called GameWorks, and they always had the latest Capcom or SNK games, but it would just be so cool just to be there, just to hang out with people, and yeah, because I remember, I had the Dreamcast, Street Fighter 3 third, or Street Fighter 3 third impact, is that what it's called? It wasn't out yet. Or is it Street Fighter 2? I don't know. They made so many names, but I remember just being able to go there to play the game. And nowadays, it's like when you want to play a game, you wait for it to come out at home.
Right.
The other thing too is when I worked at the movie theater, we had an arcade there, and they would always have the latest Tekken, and that was great to just hang out, play some Tekken.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of want to incorporate again, is like the video gaming, like because back in the day, you hang out with your friends, you would play video games, watch a movie. And then I think lately, when I would think about hanging out with people, it's like, well, what would we do? I would want to work on something. But why don't I just make it where something I would want to do? Watch a movie, watch a show, play a video game, and do it with friends. And I don't know how it is in your situation, but when my kids were younger, it's just that was like the sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
It's like out of all the things, the one that I think impacts the most is your time with friends.
100%. Yeah, because I still and I've always been a little bit more of a loner anyway. Like, I tend to put my head down and bury myself in my work and that kind of thing. But yeah, no, for sure. I think that that goes for anyone that starts building a family, is like, you spend more time with them than you do with your friends. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
No,
but
you just got to balance it.
Exactly. Balance, moderation is the key.
Because I think
And I think you've touched on this before when you talk about like video games that you play, is it makes you more discretionary with your time. Is
Yeah.
you don't want to waste your time doing so like the reason that like you don't see a lot of dads going out to bars and like just drinking is because like man I don't want to do that. Like I want to do an activity. I want to do something fun. Like I don't want to just
Right.
sit and commiserate. And so that's to your point. It's like anime night makes a lot of sense because
Yeah,
you're
it's an experience, but with people, you know. And yeah, it's a really good thing. So that, I mean, that's kind of a message to all those out there. You know, everyone's in a different situation right now, but always try to find a reason to hang out with someone and do something. And I'm not saying like a significant other or family member,
and
because
in person
yeah, in
because
person. Yeah.
this is the thing. I think that like for all of the promise of the internet connecting us and bringing people together, it brought you and I together,
Yeah. I know.
but in a lot of ways it isolates you as well. Like
Yeah.
log off, go out and
Yeah, and spend some time, because I think the balance of having your family there is your family allows you to be who you are, but also lean into that edge of who you are, because sometimes how you are in front of other people is different, especially if
yeah,
you know their backgrounds, you know where they came from. But a lot of times when, especially when you're close with your significant other, the two significant others can be way more open to each other. And so you might then just take on that identity more than you think, when then you just want to go hang out with people. But I think like everything, it's all work. You know, you got to work at it. Um,
yeah.
so,
Yeah, you're never good at something right out of the gate. And I think a lot of people kind of get discouraged if it's like, well, I'm just like I'm not good at making friends or I'm not good at like being social. And it's like, well, you're never going to get better at it if you just stay at home.
right. Yeah, I know. Just like that with everything. It's crazy. So we're at the end, and really quick, I just want to shout out the chat. There was Short Grass Studios, which I'm sorry if you're new. I don't remember Short Grass Studios, but been working hard on this Gundam GK kit. Designers are hard at work. Our first project is a PG Hazel Alzla gigantic arm unit. Holy, we'll have pics soon. Shortgrass Studios. I can't wait to see that. That's insane.
For all you
Um,
AOZ fans out there.
yeah, yeah. And then shout out to our mod Ian Hansen Sneaky Sama. He got me the Wing Zero and the Epion of Gundam Universe. Well, not got. He found them for me. I bought them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make that clear. I don't want people just sending me things. But real quick, also I want to. Oh, and then I think I saw Kyle in the chat, Robert's in the chat. Good to see everybody. Barry
Yeah, Dan
BB,
V.
yeah, Dan Vince. As a dad, that's pretty much how it is. And let's see, number 3, Jim Kellex. Number 2 is Ian, and number 1, Ultronomus, which makes sense. I see Ultronomus literally almost every
He's
day.
always clinching that first spot. I love this new like ranking system in the chat. It's pretty. I like gamifying things like that. It's cool.
I know, yeah. And then you have goals you could do. I haven't messed with that, but oh, actually, Kyle is not here, as Simply New Type says in the chat. So anyway, guys, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining. I really liked talking kind of the esoteric tech conspiracy angle, but honestly, if people aren't interested in that, you can just tell me, and you'd rather me stick it to more of the fun stuff. But I figure it's every once in a while, it's cool to go off on different subjects. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, because to your point, it always comes back to Gundam somehow.
it does. Yeah, I make all the things in my life that I do. Gundam's always in the back of my head being an enjoyment, and I can apply that. So, all right, all, we're gonna head out. We'll see you next week. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Check out Steven's show yesterday, because I forgot to show you guys that I got the mat. Steven's talking about it on his show yesterday, and I showed it off, but
yeah, and I've got your deck box here.
oh, my deck, yeah, I can't wait, because this I can roll it up. I'm thinking when the North Carolina meetup, I'm gonna bring this in cards just in case. It'll be fun to maybe play a game or two. So
Yeah, man.
all right, well, gonna head out, guys. We'll be back next week with some more, but until then, have a good one.
Cheers.